I guess there's two ways to think of that. One, this is not a magic puck that you put on and all of a sudden you go faster. Like it's you have to learn, right? I've had diabetes for 40 years, and I still learn new things and get curveballs, with my glucose, when I don't expect them, right? And it's the same for people without diabetes, because there's 42 different variables scientifically proven to impact your blood glucose. It takes time. So in an ideal circumstance, I'd say 3 months before, maybe 5 months before you start learning, start doing an experiment, do a test, then it's just, you change one variable at a time. When do you eat breakfast? You start there. And then it's, what do you eat for breakfast? Is it enough carbohydrates, enough protein? How do you feel? What did it do for your glucose? Kipchoge's coaches, just observed the data for 2 months before they started doing any interventions. And then they would make one intervention at a time, analyze the results. Now, I know most of us don't have that luxury to have a team of sports scientists around you observing all your data, right? So one thing you could do is, if your race is this weekend, and you've never tried it before, put it on. And don't even worry about the numbers during the race, but look at it afterwards and review it with your coach. And what we found is, a lot of people will be able to correlate. I was having a bad moment in the race, and look, my glucose was low there. I was feeling really good, and my glucose was at 140. So you can then use that one race experience, take a break, and then as you start to train for the next one, take a more precision approach, and maybe your race experience can yield faster results in the training. So there's no magic bullet, but any time is a good time to start, because I promise to anyone out there that they're gonna get some surprises, and they will learn a lot. And what we've seen time and time again from those who stick with us is, personal records are broken and massive races are won.
And get some surprises, Phil, you mean in terms of their data?
Yeah, I mean, Anna van der Breggen, she used to eat, she used to always get shaky on the bike, right? After about 20 minutes into her rides. Well, lo and behold, she was eating a bowl of oatmeal about 30, 45 minutes before the ride, would have a big spike in glucose, get on the bike, and that insulin that was being used to bring the glucose down before activity gets supercharged with exercise. So then she had a really sharp crash, probably 15 minutes into her rides, and she would be shaky. She would feel low. She'd feel weak. And so what did she do? She began to, add peanut butter to her oatmeal, and then she adjusted the timing of when she ate to make sure that spike or that crash didn't happen at the start of activity. And she's like, this was the meal that I'd eaten. I'd done this throughout my entire, career, and had these feelings throughout my entire career. But once I had visibility, then I knew how to change. And then she's like, I started training better, went faster. So, a lot, what does a beer do to your glucose? I mean, I'm talking Australian. So, you can find, what beer does, what wine does, what everything does to your body. And, from a recovery standpoint, if your the stability is probably the most important thing. So, if your glucose goes below 70 milligrams per deciliter, the glycogen receptors in your muscles shut off. And so that impedes recovery. On the flip side, if your glucose goes above 140, then your body produces insulin to counteract that higher glucose and brings it down when you're not exercising. And that insulin creates inflammation, and that also impedes recovery. So for the athletes to figure out, the recovery right after training, and then the more stable you are throughout the day, the more stable, and through the night, the more stable you are during activity. And that stability is really one of the key focuses, or key targets for success. So just being able to make, most people don't need to make a lot of big adjustments. It's just a small adjustment here, a small adjustment there. You can have, percentage gains on performance, and more importantly, the precision needed on, race day where, or the weekend ride where, judgment is, the reality. Hey, Phil Southerland here, CEO, founder of Supersapiens, and honored to be here with Brad on the Physical Performance Show.